Unit 5, Blood, Section 3, Basics of Blood Spatters. So blood spatter evidence itself is a lot of physics, a lot of calculations of angles, understanding how forces affect liquids. Obviously, just specifically blood is what we're looking at here, and then the different conditions that result from those forces being applied. So, a lot of physics here, but we're not going to go super in depth. We're going to be looking at angles. We're going to be looking at stuff like that. All right, so when you're at a crime scene, scene pattern reconstruction, a couple things that you're going to be looking at: the condition of the stain, the pattern, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit, the distribution of blood throughout the space, the location of the blood, and then directionality, which we're also going to be able to calculate. Once the blood is processed and brought back to lab, you can look at genetic markers, age, sex, race, source, all things like that. Depending upon the part of the body, other body fluids might even get mixed in. So you might even be looking at more than just blood. You may be looking at some other things as well. So that's all involved there as well. All right, so what does blood spatter tell us? Well, it's going to tell us the distance between the target surface and the origin of the blood. Okay, so you're going to be looking from one point to the next, and you're going to be able to tell the difference between those two. The point or multiple points of origin of the blood, so where did it come from? If it's a cast off from a head wound, was a person standing, was a person kneeling? Those are all things that you'll be looking at. The movement and direction. So this is something that the Sam Shepard case actually helps us understand and process, and we're actually going to watch a CSI episode that does it as well. But we're looking at how when we look at analyzing blood drops, what we're looking at is we can figure out the directionality. So was a person standing in one place? Were they walking or moving in a particular direction? The number of blows, the number of shots, things like that are going to affect how the blood is dispersed. The type and direction of impact. So we can tell if a knife was used, if a bat was used, if a shovel was used. They're going to result in different types of blood spatters. And then the position and movement of the victim or object during and after blood was shed. A couple terms you need to know. Angle of impact. Okay, so this is going to be talking about if we have a surface and blood comes down and spatters on that surface. The angle of impact is what we're going to be calculating there. Understanding a blood stain transfer. A transfer is when a bloody object touches another surface and then it leaves that blood image behind. That's going to be the same thing we talked about before about a visible print. Back spatter. So if somebody is being beaten, after the first blow, there is oftentimes blood on the victim. So then when they're hit again, there's blood cast off obviously from the weapon, but also when you hit blood, that blood is going to spatter, and that back spatter coming back towards the assailant is something that can be calculated as well. I've mentioned a couple times the term cast off. That's just blood that comes off of an object as it's in motion. A couple other things. There are different types of contact stains. You do need to know the difference between a swipe and a wipe. That seems kind of weird, but there are two totally different types of stains. A swipe is when you have, for example, blood on your hand and you touch a non-bloody surface. And then that moves from your hand onto the surface. A wipe is when your hand is clean and you touch a bloody surface and smear it. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. And then transfer in just general sense, an image is going to be evident from one to the next. Directionality, it's relatively straightforward. Terminal velocity, you've talked about this already in physics. There is kind of a categorization of different types of velocity. We're going to focus mainly on high and low. And we're going to be looking at the difference. High velocity is going to have a fine mist appearance. Imagine if you had water in your mouth and you just kind of open your jaw and let water pour out. That's low velocity. But if you sneeze and you blow that water out, it's going to mist. That's the high velocity. So that's some of the basics, and that's all for today.